Greetings viewers, EricTheCarGuy here, back again with what I hope will be another repair video for you. Behind me is my 1992 Acura Vigor, and its problem is the windshield washer squirters don't work. And this time of year, which is, I'm all bundled up, it's winter time, not exactly the best time not to have your washers. Even though this is on, once again, my Vigor, this is a thing that, or these systems are fairly common across the board. So I'm hoping the information found in this video will help you, even if you have a different make and model of vehicle. But I'm just going to go through the steps that I would go through in order to diagnose and repair a problem of this type. Step one, let's verify that complaint. Now you can hear my motor running, but there's nothing coming out of the nozzles. So that means that it's not likely to be an electrical problem because, or with the switch or anything there, because I can actually hear the motor run when I activate it. The motor doesn't sound all that healthy though, but before we get digging into this problem much further, I think let's not avoid the obvious. Let's just add a little windshield washer fluid to the reservoir and see if that changes anything. Now before I add my windshield washer fluid, I want to note something about windshield washer fluid. Not all windshield washer fluid is created equal. Especially this time of year, you'll find when it's not up to the snuff. When I worked at the dealership, we used to purchase windshield washer fluid in bulk, and it didn't have enough alcohol in it. The people I worked for insisted that it was fine because the people they bought it from said it was good to 10 below or whatever. But I've got to tell you, it would freeze up inside the washer bottles and we'd have an inoperative windshield washer system like we do here. So it's very important and entirely possible that your problem, if you're having this problem during the winter, that the issue may be that the windshield washer fluid is frozen inside the reservoir. If that's the case, then it's not going to work properly, and you'll have a situation similar to what I have where nothing comes out but you can hear the motor and everything else running. Now they do make special de-icing windshield washer fluid, which is this purple stuff that I have here that you can look into. So there are different types, and I believe there's also summer types, and this stuff that I have here is claimed to be all season. But I think the easiest thing to do when you were in this situation is to make sure that our windshield washer fluid is, one, not frozen in the reservoir, but two, that we're using the correct stuff for the correct season. I'm not going to add a whole lot because if I have to take the motor out of this, all the windshield washer fluid is going to come running out, so everything I just put in there is going to go away. So I just want to put enough in there to verify whether or not low fluid is my issue. Right, let's give them another try. Well, it appears that was the start of the issue, but you notice the driver's side is barely coming out. So we know it's not frozen down inside the reservoir. We know we just need to add some fluid, but I'd like to try and figure out why the driver's side just isn't coming out as good as it could. So now my focus is going to be trying to figure out if this is a mechanical issue, like say for instance some of these hoses or something like that is clogged or restricted, or if it's an electrical issue in that the motor itself is either not working as good as it could, or maybe not getting sufficient power and ground to operate correctly. One of the things that I like to look for as far as when I'm trying to figure out a mechanical issue is where the hose goes in and pivots. Now you can see it sort of goes in down under the hood here and then in behind the fender. In fact, the reservoir is located somewhere behind this fender. We can access it through the inner splash shield here. But that being said, just look and see if there's any kinks or binds in the hose itself which could cause it. Also, any leaks. If you've got any leaks anywhere, that's going to decrease the pressure going to those nozzles. And anything that decreases that pressure makes it so that, well, it doesn't come out as good as it could. So I'm going to look around here for areas that could potentially be causing a restriction. You'll notice I was very careful in removing this, particularly in cold weather. These can get hardened up pretty good and have a problem. Well, what I'll do is I'm going to take some compressed air and shoot it through this hose to remove any debris or anything that might be in these hoses or anything. So I'm just basically going to isolate and eliminate this section of the system. Now I'm not going to go full pressure through this system. It's not designed for the kind of pressure that shop air has, but I'm just going to give it just a little shot to try and clear anything out that might be in this part of the system. Now, just as a quick test, I'm going to hook this hose back up and try it again to see if that's made any difference. I'm running out of fluid again. It does seem a little bit better, but not great. So my next move is going to be to raise this part of the vehicle up, remove this wheel and this part of the inner fender liner to gain access to the reservoir and the motor. Now that I have the wheel removed, I can remove this mud flap and this part of the inner fender liner, which the windshield washer reservoir is behind it. Now, to make things quick and easy, I have a Phillips head attachment on my 1/4" ratchet that I'm going to be using to remove the screws to hold the mud flap on. Should be one more plastic rivet under here, but this is what I got, and it's just a plastic rivet. You can unscrew the center portion, which allows this part here that spreads apart when the screw is all the way down in to release, so you can pull it out. Now we should be able to get a look at our windshield washer reservoir to find out what is going on. Well, here's the washer reservoir and the motor here. Looks like some spiders got in there. That's a big glob of junk behind my fender liner. That's not good for the metal. But here is our hose. And you can see we're almost empty. I'm just going to disconnect this here at the motor and try to blow through this hose in the same way I did the one up top, and then try it again to see if that helps solve the problem. If not, then we have to consider the possibility that, one, this motor might be on its way out, or there may be resistance elsewhere in the circuit that's causing us not to get enough juice to our windshield washer squirters. Also, there could also be debris down inside the motor itself, which, believe it or not, is actually quite easy to remove, as the motor is usually just held in with an O-ring. Before I get too far, let's stick with the plan. Let's, wherever that hose went, find that hose. I hear a leak. I hear a leak right up inside the fender somewhere. I can hear a leak right in this area whenever I do this. Okay, now that I've got it disconnected down below, I'm going to try to fish this up through here. It might be easier to pull it down through the opposite way because there's like a 90-degree elbow in here. And since I've already disconnected it up here, it should be fairly easy. I'm just trying to fish it down through. Somehow, things have been disconnected. I managed to pull this out, but I did find the brake, which is right there, which was probably cracked or something somewhere in there. Yeah, there it is. So right there is the issue. It was probably leaking out of that. I believe I have some of this lying around. I'm going to go get it and come back, but I believe once we replace this hose, we should be all set. They actually make, yeah, I know it's old school. If you have this same problem, what I would suggest that you do is take your old piece to the auto parts store. Many times they will have bulk of this, similar to what I have here. and they should be able to match up the correct diameter that you have. And looking at what I have, this diameter looks a lot closer than this stuff. This stuff is, I think it's 7/16, which is kind of tiny. I don't think that this smaller stuff is going to work for me. This stuff looks a little small, but I believe I can make it work. I'm just going to take these pieces here and sort of run them together. I'm going to need that much to there, and then from there I need about that much more, and I'll give myself an extra inch because I can. Hey, if you could give yourself an extra inch, you would. So I'm going to try to fish this back up through the fender into this area so that I can reconnect it. And sometimes there may be a special joint or something up in here that this needs to be connected to. Sometimes there's like a little pivot inside the hood if these are inside the hood. Sometimes they run these directly into the windshield wipers themselves. There's a lot of different things you can encounter with this, but the systems all basically work the same. There's tubing that goes from a reservoir and a motor up to where the fluid squirts out. And if there's a break, as you saw, or a crack or something, or a leak, that can decrease the amount of pressure. And as a result, they don't work as well. I'm going to hook it back up under the hood here. Now I will fish it down the rest of the way to the outside of the motor itself. We've got ourselves a new hose running up top. I'm going to fill this up some, not all the way, because remember there still could be a problem with the motor. Give this a try and see where we're at. Much better. Let's close the hood and see. Oh yeah, it's way better. Before, the driver's side wasn't even getting up on the windshield. Let's get this button back up and close this one out. Yay, I fixed it. And in this case, it turned out to be a hose that it had sort of rotted away and cracked. Had it been an electrical issue, the next step that I would have taken is a voltage drop around the motor to find out if the motor was getting full current. If not, I was going to look and see if there was like a grounding problem. This car sat for a long period of time. It's entirely possible that grounds can get rusted up and as a result cause increased resistance and poor connection. That is a possibility, but this time we had a mechanical issue, which many times that's what you run into. Sometimes you run into a burned out motor. What I do in those instances is I disconnect that connector at the motor. I will have someone, or sometimes I'll hook up my power probe if I'm by myself, leave it on audible, and activate the switch to see if I'm getting power and ground down to the connector. If I'm getting power and ground to the connector, then I know that that part of the circuit is all good, the switch and everything else. And the issue is most likely going to be in the motor itself, in which case I could turn around and run power and ground to the motor to see if it runs. If it doesn't, I know to replace it. As I said, they're usually just held in by O-rings, so you can pry them off, but be careful. Those some of those washer reservoirs can be a little bit brittle, and you can damage those, and if you do that, then you'll probably be heading to the salvage yard to get a whole unit at that point, which is also another option. Just if you go to the salvage yard, just get it all and replace it. But access, that's going to be your most difficult part of this. They put those windshield washer reservoirs just about anywhere they can. Not necessarily easy to get to. So that may be a challenge. Also, routing those hoses. If it's in a difficult place, take a page from the electrician's book and use maybe a piece of string or something to fish something through. Like tie a piece of string to the old piece as you pull it out. So that way you've got a piece of string on the other end, and you can use that same piece of string to pull the hose back through in the opposite direction. They also have special tools that do this type of thing, yada, yada, yada. Anyhow, just run through that checklist, check for clogs in the nozzles themselves. Also, these nozzles on this model vehicle and on some Hondas, they're on a pivot, and you can go in there with, let me show you. I've used these in the past, and what these are is they're used to clean the tips on your torches. So if you have a set of these, These are really good for cleaning out those nozzles. Also, like I say, you can kind of align them slightly so you can move that inside around on some of them. It's sort of like a ball and pivot. So if you don't like where it's directed up onto the windshield, you can sometimes adjust it. Also think of this, you might want to do it a little bit high because when you're driving down the road, there's going to be wind that's hitting it, so it's going to hit lower on the windshield as you're traveling at speed. So consider that as you're trying to aim and align them. I'm happy where these are now, so I'm just going to leave them alone. Here is a Reservoir with a couple of motors on it. This is probably front and rear, but this is what you might be replacing should you replace an entire unit. I also had that sitting over there for show and tell. Anyhow, I'm going to close this one out. I hope this information was useful to you and helps you see clearly again. If you have automotive questions that were not addressed in this video, I'd ask that you head over to EricTheCarGuy.com. There's a welcome video there to tell you about all of our amazing features to help you with automotive issues, should you have them. If you wish to connect with me socially, I can be found on Google+, Facebook, Twitter, and now Instagram. I post repair videos on Friday, so stop back and see me then. And I close each of my videos with be safe, have fun, stay dirty. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.